take a walk outside and listen to the computer.
Okay, hopefully you've heard the song. This is part 2. I have the first part on my YouTube and Instagram, but you don't have to see it. I just didn't cover how I made the bass in it, and someone asked me to break down the drum production as well. The whole bass and synth arrangement is located in a group that I sandwiched together and kind of glued everything together with a saturator, which I have tended to do in a lot of songs. There's a couple like equalization things that happen on this group as well. But this means that when the main drop plays, do you hear how the main synth is like, it's crunching just a little bit under the bass? I determine whatever goes inside this group based off of whatever I want to kind of subtly duck under the bass with some saturation. So there's the main synth, and then the bass obviously, and then there's like some chimes. And I just wanted those to get like sandwiched under it. I covered the main synth in the previous video. This is the main bass right here. So it's a group and it includes 2 basses. This is the bass that shows up in the first drop. This is just a group with a sine wave. And then there's a very small resampled bass. It could be anything, but I think I just was trying to add a little bit of texture to it. The sine wave has that classic little like pitch envelope that happens where it gets like, you know, starts at a very high pitch and then goes down just to add a little bit of impact to it. The main thing that I'm doing is saturating the whole thing together just a little bit and then adding a couple EQ3s, which they like delay the bands just a little bit. So you get like a little bit of frequency smearing as a consequence. It's not like if I were to do 1,000 of these, see how it like starts to sound spacey because it splits up the bands into 3 and they get offset. Anyway, I liked the sound, so I did it like twice. The bass changes just a little bit in the second drop.
Holy shit!
Also, thanks 3B for guessing the correct source of that sample. Okay, so there's that big green group that I showed you that sandwiched the main synth and the bass, but the bass itself is in another group because it has 2 pieces that make up the bass. The first one played at the beginning of the song, and then the second one plays in this second drop, and they get played together, so that's why they're put together in a group, because the group saturates them both together. If you see my breakdown of the Nerds Trying to Dance track, this is pretty similar actually. I'm just using a higher harmonic resonance against a lower one. So there's 2 instances of operator here. I added just like a clean note of bass below it. But what's doing the main driving force is this operator instance, which just has 4 sounds playing in parallel. So none of them are FMing each other. And the top 3 are at a much higher harmonic resonance. They're at a 10th. So that's what plays here. And because they're being distorted together with a saturator later in the chain, turning the bass note up kind of consumes them. And so that's what's being modulated here. So if I were to take that off, right, nothing happens. But by saturating them all together and playing with that saturation, magic happens. Where did it go? Okay. At the end of the measure, it goes like, brrr. The way I'm achieving that is by taking the main note and dropping it down 2 octaves. So as I drop it down 2 octaves, of course the bass note gets like unaudibly low, but then these notes would go down as well. So instead I double them at the same time. So this high harmonic remains perceivably the same while the low note gets really, really, really low. And because they're all distorted together with the saturator, then you get this sort of tremolo effect. Then there's a second measure where I throw everything through a phaser, and all I've done is turned the level of the low end way up so that high harmonic is pretty much inaudible. And you can see it's just a little melody going boom, 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 boom. Here, I'll show you how I put the drums together. There's 2 drum groups, and they're outside of the sidechain group, but I have the entire song inside a beat repeat group because I trigger a beat repeat on most of it at one point. I think what gave the drums the most impact was not the drums themselves, but rather that I was dropping the volume of the rest of the song using a manual automation every time the drums hit. Here's that main beat. I prefer to use audio tracks for the drums. It's just easier to see everything. I realize it's a lot more cut and paste, but it's just nice to see the waveforms on the timeline. There's the kick, and I stole the kick from my sample pack, which you can get on my website. This is from a track called Never. Same with the snare. It's from a track called GG that I released a long time ago. Except I pulled out the low end of it, and I'm combining it with the kick the whole time. Here's some other percussion stuff going on. And like, there's some effects, but that's really just to like make it sound kind of trebly. A lot of times I'll use a multiband dynamics and expand the high end so that something has like a bunch of greasy texture in it. These are just little bits. I think this is actually used as like a tom. Yeah, it goes boom, 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 boom. Like all of that stuff kind of disappears once it all comes together. When it comes to mixing the drums with the rest of the song, I actually added a ton of stuff to the drum group, and I don't always do this, but there's a compressor there, there's actually a limiter, and check it out, the limiter is going really hard. So this actually prevented me from limiting the entire track on the master nearly as much, because when I did the manual ducking, then I can really clearly hear how much louder the drums are from the rest of the song. The second drop isn't much different. Yeah, there's like an extra snare in there. And that's part of the collab between Luminyst and I. He came up with this awesome break beat for the second drop, and I was like, I never thought about that. So we incorporated some of his elements and my elements into a couple drum groups. So I think this could all be in one, but this was the easiest way to do it for the collaboration between the two of us. There you have it, bass and drums from Traditional Computer Solo. Let me know if you have any questions about this in the comments. Would be happy to explain any more if you need.